Oh, come behold the works of God, the nations at his feet.
Welcome to Calvary Chapel Corinth with Senior Pastor Charlie Villard. Our desire is to comfort those in any affliction with the comfort by which we ourselves have been comforted by God. We are blessed to have you join us today as we dig into God's Word, chapter by chapter, verse by verse.
Genesis chapter 42. We've been following Joseph's life, and last week we went through and we talked about Joseph going to prison. That in Scripture there's some people that had right to complain about their life, right to complain about the circumstances or things they didn't like. Joseph was one of them. I made the case that out of anybody in Scripture, maybe next to Job, that Joseph, betrayed by his own family, left to die. They wanted to kill him, and then they sold him off. He became a slave. He had never really did anything. I say never really because he was sort of kind of a wise guy, right? He told these dreams to his parents and his brothers, like, you're going to serve me one day. But really, Joseph didn't do anything wrong, and he was wrongly imprisoned. He was wrongly sold. He had all these things that have went on in life. He was wrongly accused, right, of rape by Potiphar's wife, and we don't see him complaining about anything. We complain a lot about our lives. Like, it's too hot, it's too muggy, it's buggy. Then there's large things in life, right? Losing a family member, losing a child, losing a parent. There's things that we go, man, it's been really terrible to have lost all those things. But that I know of, none of us have been wrongly imprisoned and sat in a prison, been wrongly accused of things. Today, an accusation makes you guilty, right? Of an accusation of wrongdoing or, some kind of assault or sexual assault could, even if you don't get put away, even if you were proven it's true, there's still a stigma. But we complain about a lot of things, and I do it, and we're all guilty of it. And, we look at Joseph's story, we go, man, this guy, he didn't really do anything wrong at all. But we were also talking about how, in prison, well, in anything that Joseph did, that God prospered him. God made him successful. This thing's gonna bug me. God made him successful in the things that he did. And he not only made Joseph successful through that, the people he was around became that. It's a cool thing. I was telling a story as well, where I work, and I worked there for some years and then left, and they had real difficult years, business, like scary difficult, turning off lights and pulling light bulbs out of things and trying to save money and, losing customers and laying people off. And, when I got the opportunity to go back, I didn't know what it was going to present. And within the first year or two, we started sort of making this comeback. People were like, hey, look, they're going down the hill and they're going to tank, and just be aware and get out when you can get out. And then we saw things start happening, and we made shifts, and we had to let people go, and we had to shift things around, and we had to make tough choices at times. But I can see God doing the same thing, and I didn't really ever stop and think about it, right? Our company last year was one of the most prosperous years in the company's history. And, because we have great people, they work hard, they do things, but I do believe it's God's way of blessing other people, and if one day my bosses could sit down and go, man, it was God, and they're so thankful at that maybe they see God working in their own lives. So, I also made the case that I believe that when he went to prison, the chief officer was Potiphar, because he was his chief of the security and of the prison, and likely Potiphar knew that he was prosperous, or that he would be prospered. So he put him in charge in prison. Just like, hey, you're in charge of these people. And we talked about as well dreams, how crazy dreams can be. Sometimes they seem super real when you wake up. And we didn't really talk about it, but if you're a woman or you're married, you have a wife, or you have the dream that you wake up and your husband was cheating on you in the dream, and then you're mad at him for the next 48 hours because you're like, but you cheated on me, and you're like, it was a dream, but it felt so real. That dreams can feel very real. But we also can't just sit and look at every dream as a sign God has done something. Could God speak that way? Yes, he could. Yes, he did. And sometimes he does, But we should not be going to like crazy, weird dream interpreters and be like, oh, I had a dream, tell me what it's all about. And, we just leave him with God, right? If God's speaking to us, he speaks to us right here in his word. So he is capable of using all of these things. But we shouldn't, rely solely on a dream that we had. We should be seeking God and seeking his word. And so, Joseph had, they had these dreams, and he was like, hey, I can explain to you what they are, for the chief butler and the chief baker. And then eventually those things came true. Well, eventually, 3 days later. And then Pharaoh had dreams, and the years went by. Joseph was still forgotten in prison. And, in chapter 41, Pharaoh had dreams, and he explained it, and Pharaoh went, well, I don't know, this is crazy, but I'm going to make you leader over all. That there's no one higher in this kingdom except for me and my throne than you. And he's going to put him in charge of everything. So Joseph rises to this mass amount of power. And he makes good on it, right? He could have ran when he got out of prison. He could have taken off. Instead, he stuck with where God had him. And he didn't abuse the power that he was given by the Pharaoh. Instead, he made good for everybody. He went out, he met everybody. He just led very differently. And we also talked a lot about how, that Joseph is a type of Christ, right? He mimics the Christ that we know, right? He was sent by his father on a mission, and he didn't give up on that mission, and he didn't take it out on anybody else, and he didn't use and abuse anything to his own advantage. So we ended with this massive famine is going on in Egypt, just as Joseph had predicted, just as the dreams that God had given to Pharaoh and Joseph, had interpreted. And, so they're going through this, they went through great prosperity, and they saved some aside, and now they're in the middle of this great famine, and they're prospering. And so in chapter 42, verse 1, it says, when Jacob saw that there was grain in Egypt, Jacob said to his sons, why do you look at one another? And he said, indeed, I have heard that there is grain in Egypt. Go down to that place and buy for us there, that we may live and not die. So Joseph's 10 brothers went down to buy grain in Egypt. But Jacob did not send Joseph's brother Benjamin with his brothers, for he said, lest some calamity befall him. And the sons of Israel went to buy grain among those who journeyed, for the famine was in the land of Canaan. Now Joseph was governor over the land, and it was he who sold all the people of the land. And Joseph's brothers came to him and bowed down before him with their faces to the earth. Joseph saw his brothers and recognized them. But he acted as a stranger to them, and he spoke roughly to them. And he said to them, where do you come from? And they said, come from the land of Canaan to buy food. So Joseph recognized his brothers, but they did not recognize him. And Joseph remembered the dreams that he had dreamed about them. And he said to them, you are spies. You have come to see the nakedness of the land. And they said to him, no, my lord, but your servants have come to buy food. We are all one man's sons. We are honest men. Interesting. Your servants are not spies. But he said to them, no, but you have come to see the nakedness of the land. And they said, your servants are 12 brothers, the sons of one man in the land of Canaan. And in fact, the youngest is with our father today, and one is no more. But Joseph said to them, it is as I spoke to you, saying, you are spies. In this manner you shall be tested. By the life of Pharaoh, you shall not leave this place unless your youngest brother comes here. Send one of you, and let him bring your brother. And you shall be kept in prison, and that your words may be tested to see whether there is any truth in you, or else, by the life of Pharaoh, surely you are spies. So he put them all together in prison 3 days. Then Joseph said to them on the third day, do this and live, for I fear God. If you are honest men, let one of your brothers be confined to your prison house, but you go and carry grain for the famine to your houses. And bring your youngest brother to me, so your words will be verified, and you shall not die. And they did so. And they said to one another, we are truly guilty concerning our brother, for we saw the anguish of his soul when he pleaded with us, and we would not hear. Therefore this distress has come upon us. And Reuben answered them and said, did I not speak to you, saying, do not sin against the boy? And you would not listen. Therefore, behold, this blood is now required of us. But they did not know that Joseph understood them, for he spoke to them through an interpreter. And he turned himself away from them and wept. And then he returned to them again and talked with them. So he took Simeon, from them and bound him before their eyes. Let's just kind of go back and break this down. So Jacob, everyone's in the middle of this famine, and Jacob's obviously at some point going to be starving to death here. And he saw that there was grain in Egypt. How he sees this is no TV, I don't know, right? I mean, it likely word came to him that there was food in some place that they were traveling. But he says, why do you look at one another? He said, indeed, I have heard that there is grain in Egypt. I imagine at this point, he's grieved as a father. He probably thinks they're dopes because he didn't treat them the same. But he's like, why do you look at one another? It's like, why are you standing around just looking at each other? Go do something. We're going to stand here. We're not going to stand here and die. Indeed, I've heard there's grain in Egypt. Go down to the place and buy for us there that we may live and not die. It's like, hey, what are you doing? Go get some food, man. So Joseph's 10 brothers, they went down to buy grain in Egypt. I imagine there has to be something in them that went, yeah, I don't want to go to Egypt, right? I mean, if they have any conscience whatsoever, they've thought about over the years what they've done and selling their brother off to slavery. I expect that they expect he's dead, that either he's a slave somewhere, he's died, they won't even run into him. But I'm sure even the subject of Egypt is a touchy one for them, right? It's probably why they were like, I'm not going to Egypt. You go to Egypt. No, I'm not going to Egypt. You know what? I'm just going to die. I don't even care. And the dad's like, boneheads, what are you doing? Go and get some food so that we don't die. And they're like, okay, well, look, one of us isn't going. All of us are going. I can imagine it's like this argument between them, just how people are. It doesn't say that here, but Jacob did not send Joseph's brother Benjamin with his brothers, for he said, lest some calamity befall him. He's a younger guy, right? So he doesn't want to lose another son, and his the brother of Joseph, and so he keeps him behind and he sends the rest. And it says, and the sons of Israel went to buy grain among those who journeyed, for the famine was in the land of Canaan. So there's likely this line of people traveling, right? He's alluding to that there's a trade route or this same route they were probably on to begin with, traveling to Egypt, but people going to buy food, so they weren't alone. Now Joseph was governor over the land, and it was he who sold to all the people of the land. Well, Joseph was fair, right? He's not being bought by somebody. He's a fair guy. Pharaoh has put him in charge of all of this, and he said initially, the 7 years of when he did the dream, right? There was the 7 fatted cows, and they were beautiful looking, and then the 7 gaunt and weird ones that ate the fat ones. And he said, you're going to have 7 years of prosperity, right? Everybody's going to get fat. Use that time. Set aside. He doubled what was given, right? He doubled like the tithe of grain. He said, let's save 1/5, get 1/5 from everybody, that in the next coming 7 years after that, will survive. And not only did they do that, they prospered. They had all kinds. And so what he said is when we do that, we'll be able to give to people as they need so that all of the land will survive. So he's governor, and he's a fair governor, unlike our governor. He cares about the people. He cares about that he's been put in charge by Pharaoh, and that likely that his name is not tarnished by that. He does the job well, and he sells to everybody equally. He doesn't make probably political moves. He doesn't make, immorality arguments or anything. He just sells to people. So the brothers get to him, and they bow down before him with their faces to the earth. No, they can't see him because they're bowed down, which is a sign of humble respect, right? Bowing before somebody to the point where you're looking down at the ground. They are beggars in a sense. Even though they're going to pay, the land that they're from is famished, has nothing, and he's going to ask them for something. Now, he wouldn't have recognized them anyway. You guys have seen Egypt, like what they were like. He wouldn't have had a beard and long hair. He would have likely been bald and had makeup and jewelry all over him. They were very weird. They were weird. They usually had a lot of gold piercings and a lot of jewelry and things, but they just looked odd. If anybody ever watched 300, probably not the greatest movie to reference, but it's the only thing I really ever can reference. I was at It's like the two things that creep me out about any movies are those like Egyptian style, and then like old school vampire movies where they were all weird, like almost gay, like acting. Not the like Lost Boys 80s cool vampires, black leather, and they were eating Chinese food like rebels out of containers instead of, civilized people. They were always just sort of weird. And Egyptians were like this too. I'm trying to stay away from certain words, but so they wouldn't have recognized him anyway. And he, being Hebrew, right, he's using an interpreter to speak to everyone. So he's saying things to his interpreter, and they're speaking on his behalf. So they're bowed down before him. He sees that it's his brothers. He recognizes them. Likely they haven't changed much. They're probably bumbling fools, and though he's changed much in his appearance, they have probably not. So he acts as a stranger to them, and he speaks roughly to them. I love this. I'm gonna make this difficult for them. I'm not gonna be easy, and he's not being sinful, right? By all rights, he has every right to be mad and frustrated with them. But I don't think in this moment he's not. I'm bitter and angry. I think he's long forgiven them, right? He's trying to figure out what they're doing, right? And rightfully so, he should be able to give them a bit of a hard time. But he also, he is playing a role in Egypt, right? And these are not Egyptians. So he says to them, oh, I thought that was me. Was you interrupt? No, I'm just kidding. I was like, wait, my watch is dead. It's definitely not me. So he says to them, where did you come from? And they said, from the land of Canaan to buy food. And Joseph recognized his brothers, but they did not recognize him. So at this point, they've looked at him. They're having a conversation. He is recognizing them. Joseph remembered the dreams which he had dreamed about them. I love how in Scripture he doesn't say, and answered, you should have just left it on, and I would just do the teaching the whole time, and they'd be like, hello, hello. I was like, wow, they are persistent. No, you're fine. I mean, if you want to take a call, you're good. It's fine. Next week, we're going to have a conversation about, not having phones in church and silencing them and all this. I'm just kidding. We already had that one, didn't we? No. Further kidding. Even though I'm not kidding. I am. I'm going to do what Joseph did. I'm going to speak roughly. Ricky, you're going to be my interpreter. Speak roughly to her. Just whatever I say it really mean. You shouldn't have your phone in church. Now you say get your phone out of here. Ken already did that last night. Did he? Well, it wasn't the phone. And then your phone is still ringing? Yeah. Yes, actually. You can tell me after if you want. You're a really bad interpreter. I needed you to interpret what I was saying to her. Speak roughly to her. You're a good kind of kid. So he says to them, you're spies. They don't recognize them. They're looking at him. They're conversing. What I was going to say was, what I love here is it says he remembered the dreams which he had dreamed about them. He doesn't, God in his infinite wisdom doesn't write, he was bitter and angry and he remembered what they did to him. Because that's what would happen to us as humans, right? I see someone who harmed me and I don't see God's forgiveness. I tend to see the person that harmed me. So I believe he's already forgiven them. He's already moved on from this. But he's going to play with them and make this a bit more difficult. So he says to them, you are spies. You have come to see the nakedness of this land, right? He's saying, you've come to see what's going on here. You're spying it out. You're probably going to go back and tell an army. Israel's been doing this, right? I'm not intending to get off on this whole conversation, but Israel, they're geniuses. They have been in the land of Iran. They have been watching and orchestrating events. Right? That's what spies do. They've been spies in this instance. They've gone in. They know what's happening. They orchestrated events for all these leaders to come together before they struck them. And in a sense, this is what Joseph's getting at, right? You're coming here. You're pretending, but you're coming here as spies. And likely this is making commotion. Right now, people are coming to stand around and look at this person's getting yelled at, and they're saying it's spies. He's making it difficult for them. But that's what spies would do. They would go in, they'd survey the land, they'd go, hey, how do we how do we take care of this? I mean, Israel, with this attack, like it or not, there are things about this that are absolute genius. They had drones and missiles and things inside of Iran without them ever knowing, right? So they're clearly not paying attention. And never mind, I won't go off on that. We'll pray for Israel. I'm astonished by some of the stuff that they've done, and not like in a bad way. I'm like, it is just unbelievable the things that they were able to achieve. And they said to him, "No, my lord, but your servants have come to buy food." Right? They understand how to speak to him. We are your servants. We are lower than you. We understand and recognize who you are. We are all one man's sons. We are honest men. I love this. Can you imagine his face? Oh, are you? Or are you honest men? Again, that would make me more mad. Like, you aren't honest men. I'd have taken my stuff off then, wiped off my weird, crazy makeup, and pulled out my piercings and been like, I'm your brother. You're not honest. We are honest men. Your servants are not spies. I said to them, "No, but you have come to see the nakedness of the land." And they said, "Your servants are 12 brothers, the sons of one man in the land of Canaan. And in fact, the youngest is with our father today, and one is no more." So it is interesting. They are honest in this instance, right? They tell the truth. And he would know this. He would know they were telling the truth because they know there is one other. If he's looking around going, yeah, where's the younger brother? And he obviously knows there was one missing. I also think it's a bit of a test. You remember the conversation that the Lord was having with the woman at the table, right? And she's like, looking for his help. And he's like, yeah, no, we don't really do that. And she's like, yeah, but here. And he's like, no. And then she's like, yeah, but look, even dogs get table scraps. The Lord wasn't being mean to her, right? He's in a way testing and pulling out the genuineness of her request and showing faith in the Lord. There's probably some of this going on too, right? Like, really, what are you guys even here for? Like, you don't recognize me. What, are you really here for food? Are you really spies? And can I just mess around with you because you deserve it? Joseph said to them, "It is I, as I spoke to you, saying, you are spies," in verse 14. "In this manner you shall be tested. By the life of Pharaoh, you shall not leave this place unless your youngest brother comes here." Now, this is something he can do, right? By the life of Pharaoh. You got to go and you got to bring your youngest brother here. "Send one of you and let him bring your brother, and you shall be kept in prison, that your words may be tested to see whether there is any truth in you, or else by the life of Pharaoh, surely you are spies." So he says, okay, well, I'm going to test you then. If you're not spies, then you would have zero problem staying here, sending back one, and bring back your other brother. If you're here, just the genuineness of needing something will keep you in prison, and you should be fine. And if you're not, then you're definitely spies. So he put them all together in prison 3 days. Like, hey, why don't you go think about this for a couple of days? You ever do that with your kids? You guys ever get that? Like, hey, why don't you go to your room and think about that for 3 days? I want to do that, but like, why don't you think about it for a week? And then we'll see. Because then if you come back after a week and you have the same attitude or the same thing, be like, yeah, no, you got to go back in for another week. Right? Put them in prison so they will think about it, figure it out, and it tests them a bit. Plus, it shows them what life could be like. He's kind of scaring them. Then Joseph said to them the third day, "Do this and live, for I fear God. If you are honest men," I love that, "if you are honest men, then let one of your brothers be confined to your prison house. But you go and carry grain for the famine to your houses." It's okay, take some grain, and go back to your houses. But leave someone else here then. Right? See how, are you willing to leave one behind? They did this once. They left one behind easily. And they went and ate and had a meal and didn't even care about that one. It says, "And bring your youngest brother to me, so your words will be verified and you shall not die." And they did so. And they said to one another, "We are truly guilty concerning our brother, for we saw the anguish of his soul when he pleaded with us, and we would not hear. Therefore, this distress has come upon us." This is cool, right? Whether they've thought about this before this conversation in prison or not, right? Who knows what was happening over 3 days when someone goes, you know what? This is a curse. This is a curse because of what we did. We shouldn't have done that. right? And they finally sit and have this conversation and go, yeah, this is coming back on us because of what we did. And Reuben, right, ready to jump in. Reuben answered them saying, did I not speak to you saying, do not sin against the boy? Right? Reuben was like, hey, why don't sell him? Right? I mean, ultimately, he didn't want him to. They didn't want him to kill them. He said, didn't I tell you that? And you wouldn't listen. Therefore, behold, his blood is now required of us. He's saying this is our doing. But they did not know that Joseph understood them, for he spoke to them through an interpreter. So they're having this conversation, and Joseph understands all that they're saying. He hears them. And he turned himself away from them and wept. I don't know exactly what in this conversation would have made him weep. The reminder of what he went through, possibly, right? Thinking about, gosh, they did do this. Maybe it's a that he sees they do have some sort of remorse. I mean, is it real remorse? Is it just because they're in trouble? Or, do they really understand what's going on? In any case, as he hears them, he turns and he leaves. He leaves to cry. Because with all this makeup and crazy stuff on, right, you have mascara eyes. What do they call it? Raccoon eyes? Like his mascara would run. And so he leaves and he cleans himself up, says he returned to them again. And he talked with them. And he took Simeon from them and bound him before their eyes. And Joseph gave the command to fill their sacks with grain, to restore every man's money to his sack. So he says, fill their grain sacks and put the money back in there too. And to give them provisions for the journey. This is kindness, right? They came to buy it, rightfully so. And they should buy it. But he has the capability of saying, no, give it to them, right? So fill it up, put their money back in, and give them something to eat while they go back on their journey. Thus he did this for them. So they loaded their donkeys with the grain and departed from there. That's grace, right? That's grace. Mercy would be not killing them if they're truly spies, right? But grace would be not killing them, sending them back with what they asked for, and sending them back with even more. He gave them their money back, and he gave them food for the travels. That's grace. Giving them something they didn't deserve. They didn't really deserve mercy either. Picture of our Lord. So they loaded their donkeys with grain and departed from there. But as one of them opened his sack to give his donkey feed at the encampment, so he's feeding his donkey, right? He's got enough. He saw his money, and there it was in the mouth of his sack. He said to his brothers, my money has been restored, and there it is in my sack. Then their hearts failed them, and they were afraid, saying to one another, what is this that God has done to us? Because what does this really look like? They didn't pay for what they were given. So like, wait a second. The money is in there. We have this that we were supposed to pay for, and now the money's in there. What's God doing to us? And they're still stuck in this. This is, revenge, right, or whatever from what they have done. They're going, no, we did this thing to our brother, and now it's coming back on us. And now it's just even getting worse. We got out of there, and now there's still money in there, so we ripped them off. In 29, it says, and they went to Jacob, their father of the land, in the land of Canaan, and told him all that had happened to them, saying, the man who is the Lord of the land spoke roughly to us. I love this. It'd be like, oh, daddy, he spoke meanly to me. I'd be like, what? Suck it up. Move on. Right? Who cares? Jeez. The man who is the Lord spoke roughly to us and took us for spies of the country. But we said to him, we are honest men. We are not spies. Great, right? He's telling his dad, we said we are honest men. Well, they've been lying for 2 decades to him, right? Let him believe his son was dead. Not only just they let him believe, they made him believe that. It was the craziest thing, right? That they would sacrifice a goat, baby goat, and put the blood all over his clothing, give it back to the father, so the father would be like, oh no, he got shredded. And that being, I'm amazed by this, right? That being symbolic of what he did to his father. Him and his mother took a goat, took the blood out of it, cooked something for the dad to lie and to scheme, put a skin over him so he could go get the blessing. But we are honest men. We are not spies. That's what we told him. We are 12 brothers, sons of a father. One is no more. Oh, great. Remind him of that. That's awesome. And the youngest is with our father this day in the land of Canaan. And the man of the Lord of the country said to us, by this I will know you are honest men. Leave one of your brothers here with me. Take food for the famine of your household and be gone. And bring your youngest brother to me, so I shall know that you are not spies, but that you are honest men. I will grant your brother to you, and you may trade in the land. Then it happened that they emptied their sack, that surprisingly each man's bundle of money was in his sack. And when they and their father saw the bundles of money, they were afraid. And Jacob their father said to them, you have bereaved me. Joseph is no more, Simeon is no more, and you want to take Benjamin? All these things are against me. It's interesting, he's already assumed, right? Simeon's gone. Right? He's not going to get him back. But he's lost 2 sons at this point. He's like, now you want to take Benjamin? And Reuben spoke to his father in verse 37, saying, kill my 2 sons if I do not bring him back to you. Put him in my hands and I will bring him back to you. Reuben's like, hey, look, we're going to go do this. And we're going to take care of it. And if I don't come back, you can kill my 2 sons. So he's putting his family on the line. So I will bring him back to you. But he said, my son shall not go down with you, for his brother is dead, and he is left alone. If any calamity should befall him along the way in which you go, then you would bring down my gray hair with sorrow to the grave. He's already struggled. He already said he would never be the same. And he told them that. That he really showed the importance that Joseph was, that the brothers already were frustrated with. And he says, and now you would take him? No, he's lost his brother. He's alone. And if you took him, I'd be it for me. In 43, it says, now the famine was severe in the land, and it came to pass that when they had eaten up the grain, which they had bought from Egypt, that their father said to them, go back, buy us a little food. But Judah spoke to him, saying, the man solemnly warned us, saying, you shall not see my face unless your brother is with you. If you send our brother with us, we will go down and buy you food. But if you will not send him, we will not go down. For the man said to us, you shall not see my face unless your brother is with you. It's an interesting transition right here, isn't it? And Israel said, he's been talking to him, and as Jacob, yet it's changed. This isn't Israel said. Just pointing it out, really. Why did you deal so wrongfully with me as to tell the man whether you still had another brother? So why did you do that? Why did you even tell him? Why did you even tell him you had another brother at all? He said to him, the man asked us pointedly about ourselves and our family, saying, is your father still alive? Have you another brother? And we told him according to these words. Could we possibly have known that he would say, bring your brother down? And Judah said to Israel his father, send a lad with me, and we will arise and go, that we may live and not die, both we and you, and also our little ones. I myself will be surety for him. Surety, right? Assurance. I will be the assurance for him. I will watch over him. It's a cool picture still of our Lord, right? A surety for him. How do I know that I'm going to heaven? Because I have the assurance of Jesus Christ. Wow, how do you know, right? How do you know he lived? Well, okay, first of all, again, stupid even argument, right? He was a real person, multiple records. History shows it. Was he the Son of God or was he a liar? That's the things we have to decide. But he says to the man sitting on the cross, right? Today you will be with me in paradise. He assured him on his life he would be. This is what Judah's saying. I will be the assurance for him. I will do this. I will bring him back. You got to give him to me. Send a lad with me, and we will arise and go. 9, he says, I myself will be the surety for him. From my hand you shall require him. If I do not bring him back to you and set him before you, then let me bear the blame forever. Right? It won't be your fault. It'll be mine. Because he's reasoning with Jacob, Israel. I imagine in this conversation, there's a part of Jacob, Israel, right? It's a part of Israel that says, this is my fault. I sent him to go find you guys. I shouldn't have. I should have kept him here, right? That was his mission. Go find your brothers. Where were they? They were off, in another land. I'm sure there is an aspect. As a parent, he goes, this is my fault. And that's why he's hanging on so closely to Benjamin. We do that. Something bad happens to, younger kids. You guys, you'll know it. You got brothers, right? Older brothers or sisters. Something happens. And then a parent becomes more protective of the kids after that. They go, well, no, this happened when your brother did it one time and you're not going to do it now. You're like, yeah, I'm a totally different person. No, it doesn't matter, right? Because you don't want to heap blame upon yourself for something. So you try to change how an outcome of a situation. I'm sure Israel's thinking this. Like, no, first of all, he's not going because he's the youngest. He's alone. He doesn't have a brother, a full-blooded brother anymore. His brother's gone. I sent him to find you, and now he's gone, and it's my fault. Secondarily, you're not taking him because he's too young. And that's it, right? And Judah's going, look, we are going to die, all of us, all of our family, all of our children. I will be the assurance for him. If I don't bring him back, it's not on you. It is on me. So he's trying to assure him that this one won't be on you. And because he knows the other one is not on him either, but obviously they've kept this lie. Let me bear the blame forever. For if we had not lingered, surely by now we would have returned the second time. So it's been some time now that Simeon's in jail. They've gone, they've eaten all of whatever they had, right? Whatever the grain was, they all came back with it. So he says, if we hadn't messed around and just waited, I could have been gone and back by now with the son and we'd have moved on. And we'd be able to freely go back and forth and trade. And their father Israel said to them, if it must be so, then do this. Take some of the best fruits of the land in your vessels and carry down a present for the man. He says, don't go empty-handed. Assure that this thing's going to work out positively, in a positive manner. Take and bring some fruit. They were in a famine. Where did this fruit come from? Like, what? Wait a second. They're in a famine, they're starving to death, and there's nothing. And he's like, take some fruit. I actually didn't really I just kind of cruised over that line when I was studying. And I'm like, wait a second. Some of the best fruits. Where are these things coming from? It's a little balm, a little honey, spices, myrrh, pistachio, nuts, and almonds. Ew. I don't know. Are you guys like fans of, I don't like nuts. I don't like nuts in anything. I like peanut butter, but I don't like peanuts in things. Except for a peanut butter parfait from Dairy Queen. Because it's a peanut butter parfait. You expect to get peanuts in it when you order it. But like someone will put, like, oh, you want some brownies? Yeah, awesome. No, it's got walnuts in it. Nope, thanks anyway. I don't want any brownie with walnuts in it. It's like weird. Pistachios. I always see like pistachio ice cream and you're like, why is it green? Is it mint or lemon lime? And they're like, no, it's pistachio. And I'm like, why is it green? It's a nut. It should be like tan color. And then I like eating pistachios, but I don't like opening them. But part of the reward is opening the pistachio so you can eat it. Because now they just sell bags of them like all shelled. So then you just take handfuls of them and shove them in your mouth. You're like, I feel like I was getting some sort of exercise while I was shelling them, eating them one at a time. So when you go to Five Guys, I am so hungry right now. Can you tell? I was like lost on this nut thing. But the part of it is the fun of just opening the shell. Does anybody, I'm going to publicly shame you because you're weird. Does anybody put the whole entire peanut shell roasted in your mouth and eat the entire thing? Do you do it, dude? Seriously, you guys? Oh, okay. Do you? You do that. That is whack. The whole shell and everything. Man, I don't even like the weird little waxy shell thing. So like I open up the peanut, take it out, pull that thing off. Sheena's like, why don't you just eat that? I'm like, no, gross, because it like gets stuck in between your teeth and then it feels like it's flapping. That's crazy. I can't even believe that, dude. I'm going to get peanuts, though, because I want to see you do it now. I'm going to test you on it. I had this buddy in school, and every day someone would bring an apple on the bus. Like everybody's job at one point or another to bring an apple on the bus because he would eat the entire apple in front of you, core and all, seeds and all. Wouldn't even stop. So every day this guy was eating an apple because someone would bring one from home. And it was always the best, like October, September. People come like 3 or 4 of them, and it's like, I'm not eating 2. I'll save that one for tomorrow. But he would do this just like a sideshow. Like, I'll eat the entire apple if you bring me an apple. So you give him an apple, he'd eat the entire thing, seeds and all. And I'm like, is an apple tree going to grow out of him? What happens if the seeds like start to sprout? Where do they get nuts? Almonds. Why aren't they eating those? They're high in protein, right? He says, take double money in your hand and take back in your hand the money. Take double money. You mean the money that you already owed? Right? Because they went with money, and now they're going to go back with more money. So he's like, take it all back. He said, take the money that was returned in the mouth of your sacks. Perhaps it was an oversight. Perhaps it was an oversight. Take your brother also and arise and go back to the man. And may God Almighty give you the mercy before the man, and that he may release your other brother and Benjamin. If I am bereaved, I am bereaved. So the men took the present and Benjamin, and they took double the money in their hand, and they arose and went down to Egypt, and they stood before Joseph. When Joseph saw Benjamin with them, he said to the steward of his house, take these men to my home and slaughter an animal and make ready, for these men will dine with me at noon. Man, can you imagine? Okay, first of all, he's made good on what he said, right? They've made good on what they've said. He's made good on what he's said. So they're like, whoa, okay. And secondarily, they're going to go eat meat now, not just grain, right? Not some biscuits. He says, we're going to eat meat. And they're going to dine with this man. Then the men did as Joseph ordered, and the man did as Joseph ordered, and the man brought the men into Joseph's house. Now the men were afraid because they were brought into Joseph's house, and they said, is it because of the money which was returned in our sacks the first time that we were brought in, so that he may make a case against us and seize us and take us as slaves or with our donkeys? Such a weird thing. They're concerned about their donkeys. He's going to take our donkeys too. Like weird details that people do. But maybe he's setting us up. Maybe he realizes it's going to look like we stole from him. When they drew near to the steward of Joseph's house, they talked with him at the door of the house and said, oh, sir, we indeed came down the first time to buy food, but it happened. Oh, this is great. It happened that when we opened our sacks, there was each man's money was in the mouth of the sack, and our money in full weight. So we have brought it back in our hand, and we have brought down other money in our hands to buy food. We do not know who put the money in our sacks. This is kind of funny, though, the way that, it's like, oh, hey, and by the way, I just want you to know now that I'm back here again, I didn't come back right after and go, hey, by the way, there's money in here. I want to pay for my goods, right? They went home and everything. He's like, hey, just so you know, it's like, in case you were going to make slaves out of us, we did happen to find some money, but I brought it back to you. Right? I can imagine that's their case, right? They're going, oh, no. But he said to them, peace be with you. Do not be afraid. Your God and the God of your father has given you treasure in your sacks. I had your money. And he brought Simeon out to them. This is such a cool thing. He's saying, God did that. Don't be afraid. God, your God, and the God of your father. How does he know who these people are? How do they not go, what do you mean? Do you know who we are? Do you know who our God is? So the man brought the men into Joseph's house, and he gave them water and they washed their feet, and he gave their donkeys feed. Then they made a present ready for Joseph's coming at noon, for they had heard that they would eat bread there. And when Joseph came home, they brought him the present which was in their hand into the house, and bowed down before him to the earth. And he asked them about their well-being, and he said, is your father well, the old man of whom you spoke? Is he still alive? It's been some time. Never once these guys are like, hey, why do you keep asking us about our father? It's so weird. And it's odd because we sold our little brother to Egypt. And they answered, your servant, our father, is in good health. He is alive. And they bowed their heads down and prostrated themselves. They're laying on the floor on their face in front of him. They have changed, right? They have. That's what he's looking for. The time has changed them. He lifted his eyes and he saw his brother Benjamin, his mother's son, and said, "Is this your younger brother of whom you spoke to me?" And he said, "God be gracious to you, my son." Now his heart yearned for his brother. Ah, man, what a moment. He looks up and he sees his real, true younger brother. Or real, true brother. His heart yearned for his brother. He's been gone a long time. Missed his brother, no doubt. Thought about him often. Now he's standing face to face with him. He's concerned, right? He hasn't seen his dad. And he's concerned about him being alive, right? Wants to know how he is. And when this happened, it says, so Joseph made haste and sought somewhere to weep. Second time, he's gone. I gotta go, right? I can't cry. This reuniting for him. Something that none of them realized what's going on. And he washed his face and he came out and he restrained himself and said, serve the bread. So they set him in a place by himself, and they themselves, and them by themselves, and the Egyptians who ate with them by themselves, because the Egyptians could not eat food with the Hebrews. For that this is an abomination to the Egyptians. How crazy is our Lord? He would eat with publicans and sinners and Pharisees and his friends. But it was an abomination for an Egyptian to eat food with a Hebrew. Not God's doing, right? It was something that the Egyptians did. But the Lord will eat with any of us. He'll sit and eat. We should be willing to do that. Sit and eat with anyone. Even if we don't agree on anything, sit and eat. Food does a lot, man. It like kind of chills you out a little. You know, you can find common ground over food. You know, if you have to have a tough conversation with somebody, eat dinner with them. You know, sometimes makes it a little easier. It says, and they set before him the firstborn according to his birthright, and the youngest according to his youth. And the men looked in astonishment at one another. And he took servings to them from before him, but Benjamin's serving was 5 times as much as any of theirs. So they drank and were merry with him. He gave him 5 times the amount of food. That's what God does to us. He gives us an abundance. And he does it before anything, right? Joseph, a servant, really. He says, hey, sit down. He orders them up, sets them according to their age, and they're sitting there. He's serving them. And they're like, whoa, this is crazy. And then his younger brother, he said, here, take this 5 times the amount. What a picture of God. And God's fair. And Joseph's been fair to them, I think. I would have been way worse than him to them. I would have made life ridiculously hard. Joseph's trying not to give away something. He's trying to see if they've changed. And at the same time, he's trying to figure out what's been happening with my family. How are they? What's going on? Think about the Lord and how he is withholding communion. Right? I will not do this until I come again. I love this. I want to do this. We saw him constantly fellowshipping and doing that. And he says, you do this as much as you remember me. Do it every time you can. Do it any time you want. But I will withhold and I will wait. What a cool Lord. That he will wait. He will serve others. But that is what we are supposed to do. That's why when we're going to go eat in a minute, right? Lady's going to be first. We should do that because it's right? Feeding kids or preparing things, getting them fed. We can wait. That's the heart of the Lord. Please go. You go first. You ever do that thing when you're like, we did it at the Caldwells, we went over to eat, was like, oh, no, I'm not going to go yet. No, you guys go. It's like, no, it's our house. You go. You're the guest. No, I'm not doing that. You could like get in a fight eventually where you're just like, no, I'm not going. You go, you eat. It's like it's a good thing to serve others. And we've done this thing for years before I was even a believer, but like I won't eat food on a plate until everybody gets their plate at a table. Okay, and here's the thing. Just so you understand, I really, 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 really hate cold food. Hate it. It makes me super mad. Like I could like sit and fume because my food is cold. But it's important for me to wait till everybody gets their food to sit and start eating. So we go to like eat or go, I want that. Unless somebody goes, hey, you need to start eating right now. Don't wait for everybody. There's 20 people behind you. Go ahead and eat your food. Then I'm not going to argue with you. Well, you told me to do it. Then it's perfectly fine, right? But that's what you want. You want to sit with them. You want to eat with them. You want to enjoy the fruits of labor. And I like cooking for people. I don't even eat most of the time. Like if we have dinners, we did stuff at Christmas or Thanksgiving, I won't even eat. I want everybody to eat. But I want you to eat it hot. I want you to, speaking of which, there's food over there probably getting cold, right? Because I'm rambling on. I think there's a great deal in serving others to learn from Joseph. That's what he has done his whole time in captivity. He said, look, he never said, I hate this. I don't want to be here. He did say to the butler, he said, hey, if you get out of here, don't forget about me. I've been wrongfully accused and wrongfully sent here. And then he went back to work and he continued serving. He's serving others by selling them these things. He's serving Pharaoh. He's doing all of the work that Pharaoh should be doing. For what? He's being a servant.
Thank you for joining us today. We pray this teaching has been a blessing to you. If you have any questions or would like to request prayer, you can visit us online at www.cccorinth.org. If you're local, come join us for a service at 125 School Road in Charleston, Maine. We want to remind you that the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty in God. Remain armored up, and until next time, grace and peace.